Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist and startup expert, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained on how to build a successful startup business. And suddenly we've been left to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward, the dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Kendra Lockhart. Kendra is the founder of Know Yourself. She excels in mental mastery, including intuition, intention, and integration. Kendra, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for showing up and having this conversation with me.
It's an honor to create this with you today.
Before we look behind the scenes, can you share with us a little bit more about the work that you do?
Yes. What I really do is I take people who are unfulfilled achievers, and that can relate to people who aren't just your alpha type. It's people who just have done life as they've been socially coded, and it really isn't leaving them with a sense of satisfaction. From there, it's to train their higher mind so that they can avoid freezing, fatiguing, and oftentimes unnecessary failing. And it creates a sense of awakening and ease so that you feel like you're the architect and the driver in life instead of in a video game reacting to what's showing up.
How long have you been doing this specific type of work?
I didn't really make it official until COVID. It was something that I had done in and out of the day jobs and the careers because, like many of us, I was still in the old pattern and the old paradigm.
Was there a specific thing that had you finally put a stake in the ground?
Yeah, it was lockdown. I come from a military family, and there's a lot of mental mastery in that industry. So when I thought, okay, this is going to be a couple weeks, I've got this. And when I turned out to be wrong about that, I was the only one who could sustain my zone. And I watched people I really cared about. I watched acquaintances, friends, colleagues implode, melt down, have a total mental crack and break. And I thought, I can't keep this to myself anymore. I've lived a life of just me so long. It's time to be we. If we're being pulled apart, well, that only means we're going to come back together differently.
Totally. When you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work and for your business?
The real goal is to make this the primary and the day job be the secondary, is to invert that, because I really do see, and it can be scary and it can be ugly, but it doesn't mean it's not beautiful. If you grew up as an artist, sometimes even the horror films and the disgusting drawings can have some art to them. What we're all going through, this horrific goo state and death spiral, has such a simple element to it. And so the next 6 to 12 months is to invert it, is to let people know me for this instead of all of the skills I've been kind of programmed to do.
What do you feel like you need to do to get there? Do you feel like you're guessing, or do you feel like you know what it's going to take to get your business, your practice to the point where it is thriving sustainably, including financially, so that it can sustain also your financial needs?
I'm lucky that I'm a naturally curious person, so I know exactly what not to do, having tried all the wrong things. The expensive, painful, the hypey, the BS, they can walk it, they can talk it, they can't walk it, all those dead ends. So what I do know as far as these next 6 to 12 months, believe it or not, is going back to something that I was in 20 years ago. I was in an entrepreneurial incubator that really said, here is the coursework, here's the boot camp, here is step one, almost like a recipe, versus, hey, let's just vibe it. Oh, no, you just need to bring the energy. No, let's do body work for it. No, it's just, we've had our bubble with that where we're all in our feelings and emotional body. And now it's really time to get up to an incredibly clear space in our heads and then know exactly what decision works best for us, or maybe for everybody.
Yeah, I'm sitting here being like, shout it louder, shout it from the rooftops, because, you and I talked before we started this recording. Everything that I do is that, because I did all the same things that you did for so many years. I tried all of the things, and I had no problem investing in my business because I believed in it that much. I believed in myself. I believed in the work that I was doing. So I had no problem investing money that when I look back, I'm like, I didn't even have that money to invest.
Nope.
The fact that I paid what I paid, okay, I was paying money that I didn't even have, to put toward it, and nothing worked. I did all of the things, and it's how I found what I do, which sounds similar. I'm curious to hear a little bit more about some of the stuff that you learned in that entrepreneurial boot camp. Very few people are talking about the vital startup phase and what it takes to navigate the startup phase before going into growth. And so many people in our industry, this is what I see over and over again, and I did it for so many years. As soon as we have something to offer, we'll start trying to offer and grow that. So it's like, I get a certification, I try to coach. Okay, now I'm going to try to go find clients. It's too soon. There's this nurture phase that needs to happen to really, really translate your gifts, your skills, your desire to serve into real market demand. And then, of course, all of the few things to package that around, for lack of a better term. It's so important to do that before trying to invest in growth, because if you invest in growth too early, all of that money is going to go down the drain.
I 100% agree. And some of those programs were designed to scale you and grow you. Others were designed to launch you and start you. And the one thing that I can tell anyone who's listening, if this only reaches one other person, anyone who promises that they're going to work on you has it wrong. You build a business the way you cook a recipe. I don't need to go and work on myself to be a chef. I need to work on the skills that are required to prepare a meal according to design. So that's why I'm going back to something that really isn't about, oh, you need to work on your mindset. No, you need to work on your energetics. No, you need to design your ideal client. No, it's your marketing. No, it's your content. No, your colors are off. No, oh, wrong font. No, you're working in the wrong platform. Oh my God, you're a manifesting generator? What are you doing on social media? You should be just going and networking. All of that is about the person and not the service.
1,000%. I couldn't agree more. And this is something that this has come up so many times. I appreciate you for saying this, because I often tread lightly around this, because there's a time and place for mindset work, but it is not a replacement for the actual business strategy. It is absolutely not a replacement. And the reason that this is tanking so many people and honestly, like, really harming our industry is because people are treating it like it's a replacement. And then they are they're showing up to the kitchen without the ingredients. And they feel good and they feel great, which is important. We want that. But if you're showing up without the ingredients, and then it's days, weeks, months, years, and you're like, why is nothing working? It's like, well, you also forgot the other really important, vital part, that none of it will happen without those things. Like, I love that metaphor. You totally nailed it with that.
Thanks. It's important. I can only imagine that if anybody woke up and saw and applied it to anything else you've learned, that is some type of, here's a thing outside of who I am. Imagine going to therapy so that you can be a business owner. No. Imagine having the business you own magically heal all of your wounds. They don't correlate, and we've gotten really messy with putting things in their proper place. I learned math because there were formulas I had to get familiar with, use, and then to fully comprehend so I can make them my own. It's like that. It's much more like that versus tapping into a well of feelings for confidence to start a business.
Totally. It's like, I have said this out loud on here before, but it's like there's so many empaths in this work. And it's almost like, I've said it a few times. The first time I said this on the podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I should say this, but I said it, and I've said it a couple of times since. And here I go saying it again. the relationship, it's like we will overgive and overfix ourselves, the same exact dynamic as a classic empath narcissist relationship, where it's like we will just get in that zone where we constantly like, oh, it's me. I need to do something. I need to shift something. And it's a shadow side of what we're all collectively in our industry going through. And I'm seeing the same exact thing happen. And at what point do we stop and say, wait a second, this is looking a little bit more like a toxic relationship rather than an empowered one that's actually working? Is it paying your bills? Is it, doing all the things that it needs to do? Or are we just continuously saying, you have money blocks, you have, lineage blocks, you have ancestor blocks, which again, totally a time and place. There's nothing,
Yep.
not saying that those things, it's a lot of the work that we all do with people, but it's not a replacement for the fundamental, strategic, technical business stuff that absolutely have to be in place, like the ingredients. You need the ingredients before that meal could be prepared.
Yeah, I guarantee you with the right tools and the right formula and the right ingredients and the right recipe, I can make you the best soup on my worst day as I can on my best day on a neutral day. And I think that there are a lot of people in what could be called the coaching industry who are making a lot of money off of emotional transactions versus transferring skills so that you can go do something that isn't about your identity. It's about your desire to transfer something to somebody so that they too can thrive.
Absolutely. One of the metaphors that I use a lot with my work is, although I love your cooking one, I'm probably going to take that and start using it more, because that's really, really nailing it. But one of the metaphors that I use a lot with my work is, it's also like if your car wasn't starting and you take it into the shop, and it's just like, oh, go fix stuff without diagnosing. People aren't diagnosing the problem. They're just like, oh, change the wheels, change the paint color. Like, yeah, but that's not, you would never take your car into a shop and the mechanic, if you're like, oh, my car wasn't starting, go ahead and change the tires. The mechanic would be like, what? Why would I change the tires? Or why would I paint the car a different color?
That'll fix it.
That's so often what we're doing. We're not diagnosing. We're just try this, try that, fix anything. But we're missing that vital diagnostic phase. Like, what's actually happening under the hood? Like, what is really going on? Get that solved and you'll see that the other stuff will start working. But people are skipping that really vital diagnostic thing and they're pouring into fixes. And often it's the wrong thing. It's the wrong thing to fix. So that's an added layer of just wasting time, money, energy, resources on fixing the wrong problem. And it's keeping people in these really harmful loops, not just to themselves, but also to the world. What about the people that they're really meant to reach that they're not reaching?
Yeah. And then I spent most of 2023 and 2024 not reaching because I was in a program. And this is one thing I've learned is group programs don't necessarily help you diagnose. That is not, look, we're in a very interesting time. All of us, we're getting more and more individualized because there's more power in really full expressing. But we're also melting together and down and forward and into the unknown as a collective. So the lanes are gone and yours is showing up. So I'm not going to talk to somebody who has this problem and sit them in a group call next to this one and then say something generic and have everyone take away different versions. And so nobody's moving together. They look like a graph, like
Totally.
And that's why I think there's going to be an interesting rebirth in the way that we can truly partner and get you to the next step, the next level, skip a grade, however you want to phrase it.
Totally. I hope so. I have my down days. Like, there are days where I'm like, gosh, because I had to make a decision. When I put a stake in the ground and say, like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do professionally, I also had to let go of my own practice. Like, I had to make a choice because I was a life coach, healer, practitioner for many years, working directly with clients. And once I discovered everything that I did that to fix my practice. I did it to solve my practice problems. And I remember really clearly being on a call with one of my mentors who I discovered in the startup world and was like, you have a decision to make. I can help you build your practice. I can help you revamp it 6 years more. You now know what you're missing. But this other lane, you're going to have to start over in a way. Like it's going to be a different ball game. And I think I was 7 or 8 months pregnant. And I was like, oh gosh, what do I do? I had to think about it for a while. Obviously, here we are. So we all know the decision that I made. But on my down days, of course, I feel the heaviness of that, of like, gosh, people are so unaware of some of this stuff. And it seems like they're going for the low hanging fruit of like these things that seem like easy fixes. When I'm like, my work is way less sexy. It's way less sexy to say, hey, look under the hood, when it might seem way more sexy or way more fun to talk about paint colors and this and that. And so when I'm having my down days, I'm like, gosh, was I too early? Is it going to take too much time for people to warm up and start realizing that actually, wait a second, I've been doing the same thing over and over again, and I'm really not getting different results. When am I going to try to do something different?
When are you? That's an important question to answer for yourself. Case by case. If you try and have it be a hammer, then you're just going to fix everything with it. You better pray that every problem is a nail, because it is a specific tool for a specific job. And so my line in the sand may only apply to this type of spiral or down day or obstacle or roadblock or whatever word people relate to. There's got to be a little bit of agility with it. And I think it's really interesting when we go into the entrepreneur world. And I always knew I would be one. I got kicked out of a few corporate jobs before I figured out how to participate for both of us. And sometimes that line between here's what you need me to be and here's what I need to be, it's much lower on my side. I need to do a lot more give before I can take. But the thing is we're all in institutions for most of our life where no matter what, you're included. No matter what, you're paid. No matter what, it's a guarantee. So you get to show up like this. Entrepreneurial life requires a level of self-mastery and discipline. You don't get to show up in your king baby mood and expect your clients to appreciate giving you money for your reactions instead of your wisdoms.
Absolutely. And it does. It catches a lot of people off guard. I've talked to many people that were like, I was the top person in my company in this region. I was the number 2. I was the number 1. And I started my practice and I can't figure it out. And I feel so lost or whatever. Yeah, it takes a hit. But what you're saying is a super key point that most people don't realize. Being an employee and thriving in an environment is completely different from entrepreneurship, much less startup entrepreneurship, which we are in our world. Unless you fit a very clear box, maybe a yoga studio, or there's some that are super clear. There's already really clear validated product market fit and validated demand for that. Very few of us fit into that clear box. It's startup entrepreneurship, and it is apples to oranges to thriving in a corporate environment and being very good at what you're doing in a corporate environment. Those companies are decades or more, sometimes old. They have found product market fit and they're in the growth or maturity phase. You can't even compare. Yes. You can't compare to then getting into startup entrepreneurship. Like you said, the ups and downs and the mastery that it takes it's so different. One of the things that you said is one of those things. You can show up or down when you're an employee and still probably produce results, or maybe some days not. It's not going to affect the ultimate outcome, ultimate pay, or, things like that. In startup entrepreneurship, it is literally the opposite.
Yeah.
What else has felt especially heavy or unclear or uncertain for you in this journey of building?
I'll tell you, having hit dead ends, there's a lot of clarity in, okay, I'm starting to see a pattern of what's not working. As far as what the challenge is now is letting go of certain pieces of self that I have really mastered, because you can't always bring those with. It's like the raft was good for you to cross the river, but you can't put it on your back and now climb the mountain. These are different terrains now. And if you keep thinking If you're a very fixated type of personality instead of somebody who can be flexible, you're going to have a hard time. It's almost like those American Ninja Warriors climbing up that one mountain versus swinging across the swimming pool. Two completely contrasty environments for you to have to perform in. So for me, what that looks like is I've always been excellent staying off the grid and being behind the scenes. My type of leadership is potent. It's not for everybody. You call me if you want time collapsed. If you want it to go from 17 steps down to 3 and you think you've got the soul to have the capacity for that, let's rock. But if somebody wants this to be a walk in the park, or, let's just taste a little bit and then put our food down, and, we're not really going to eat anything, we're just going to dabble, those are not pieces that I do well with, because I do know myself so well. I was the kid who wasn't great at institution. I didn't do great in church. I didn't do great in family dynamics. I didn't do great in school unless it was an independent study and you let me go be alone, create, and then bring it back. And you thought it was chaos, but to me, it's total order. So I read the room very carefully. And the challenge is going to be, how do I start again at that crawl, walk, run phase, which I've done to be good at what I'm at, to go. Now you have to dissolve some of those because you can't take them on the climb. They just got you across the river. You can't be behind the scenes. You can't be the loner. You can't be I've got everything for myself. I'm very, self-reliant. It's to understand that there are going to be things that are going to require my creative solutions, my critical thinking, my stopping and not seeing the solution in a lightning bolt moment like I do at my day job or when I'm working on my own. So I have to remember there's going to be a recycling, a reinventing of stamina to go. And now you have to build your visibility, which means you have to go back through a bunch of conversations. There are going to be plenty of people who don't get you. Some people are going to leave you where they found you. Some people are going to see it as an opportunity to possibly have a little bit of a power dynamic with you, which happened last weekend. You never know who thinks that it's going to be easy to make you wobble, and then they feel their version of authoritative. I don't know. So it's going to be me reading the room and making sure that the person who's dancing with me has boundaries at least as healthy as mine, if not more so, and really does fit the puzzle of where I'm going instead of as a detour away from whom I'm trying to serve. Because there's going to be a bunch of distractions, and not all of them have a big red circle with a line through it, like, don't talk to that person, they're working against your mission. It's going to be somebody who's got low-key charisma or wants your attention, like, oh, you're up to such many amazing things, oh, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. Thanks, still got to go. So I'd say that's going to be part of the challenge.
I relate to so many things that you just said. One, do you know your human design?
Yeah.
Do you have a 2 in your profile?
No, I have a 5, which makes me the one that, it's easy for you to hang stuff on, and then it's not true. And then when I kind of dissolve that, then you don't know who you are, and I only know myself better. So
I think that I have a 1-year-old, and I think that he definitely has a 5. I forget his, but I'm a 2/4. The reason I was wondering is because
you get the projection field too, according to somebody who knows the work much better than I do. Is 2s and 5s are the ones where you can say hi, and someone goes, "Well, what's with that tone?" You didn't do anything. They're waiting for an opportunity to react to you because you're busy causing.
Totally, yeah. That's so interesting because so much of what you said, I'm like, I relate to that a lot. The 2, it's the hermit, it's the natural. It's also like my shadow side. I'm not a human design expert by any means, but I've, worked with it for so personally, and now with my children and my partner. So I know other people's charts now just through them. But my shadow side is the 2 of, I'm a 2/4. So generally we relate to ourselves as the first number, and then other people see us as more as the second number. So the 2, the hermit's how I relate to myself. So when I'm triggered or down or whatever, like my comfort zone is the hermit. I love, like, that is really nurturing. And of course I still get to lean into the 2 sometimes, The 4 is the networker and the opportunist. I have it in my profile. It's just not as, I don't relate to it as much. Other people generally see me as the 4, but I relate to that too. So my shadow side, without a doubt, absolutely. And I still, as being human and someone that's, has all of life and everything going on, that's where I have to keep an eye out for when I want to slip into that independent, kind of self-sufficient. I just want to be by myself. I don't want to, navigate all those things. Like I have to keep my eye out for that all of the time.
There's something very similar with that in astrology, and it's called your nodal line, your axis. Is my default way of being is solo leadership, and it is very comfortable to be a loner. And I get more done in 3 hours when you leave me alone than I do if I have an army of people under me. The delegation, there's always a breakdown in efficiency. It's like you're making a Xerox of a Xerox of a Xerox. And yes, you have people all around you, but then it's a blend of skills and a blend of priorities. So I understand that. But for me, in my fate in this lifetime, as somebody who uses astrology for leadership, I've got to go into the uncertainty and the unfamiliarity of how can I make this a collective gain? How am I able to recycle all of my personal wins and personal fails and not say do it this way, but to just put them in the middle of the table and have everyone go, oh, I see this in it. I see this. Here's my point of view. Da, da, da. And fortunately, COVID really got me good at that. That's where I went from the me life into the we life, because I saw so many friends that I thought we were all just a group of leaders or alphas or achievers. And to watch them crack made me realize that they were busy being just a tiny skill set instead of having it be a whole self.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I totally get that. I'm curious about my astrology. I'm not well rehearsed in astrology at all. Something else that you said about navigating the people out there, and this is one of those technical things that people aren't talking about nearly enough when it comes to entrepreneurship, of how to assess not just lead gen. Everyone talks about lead gen, but people aren't talking about the nuances around the different types, all of the kind of breakdowns around, yes, you can have someone that could benefit from your work, but there's so many breakdowns for that person that would give you data points for if it's a warm connection for you. And it's not even just about wasting time or not, but at the end of the day, it does matter. So many people are lacking distinctions around exactly what you said, that they're going to, because they don't have any of this knowledge, this more technical stuff, they might go for a super cold lead. It's going to take so much time, money, resources, and energy, and that's not probably at the end of the day a very good client for them. But they don't know how to navigate that process, like you were saying. And it is hard. It's absolutely not a no-brainer, and it's not necessarily intuitive.
No, it's neither. You are so on target with this. You use the word discernment, huge, and to remove all of your subconscious gaps. If you go back to it, I've seen so many people run their business like they were in grade school trying to make their first friendships. Look, and charisma is now a very high currency. Some of these people who are manifesting coaches or whatnot almost have hyper devoted students. And I don't, without using the cult word, it really gets into a giving away of power in hope that you will get your power back. But you've already given it away. If I let you have my car, you're not going to give me my car back cleaned with a full tank of gas. So and this is an important conversation, is what do people use to have the ability to understand the information they're receiving, the way it feels, the way it looks, and the matter of what it actually is can you find the intention behind somebody's desire to work with you? Or are they just looking for attention because you remind them of something they've wanted for a long time, that you have a win that they've been struggling with for a long time? And instead of getting in the middle and saying, how can you, with your wisdom, help me become wise around myself, they just want.
Yeah. Or they're just not, a lot of times what I see, it comes up, and you said this, when people I learned this the hard way, and a lot of us do this when people, we generally want to make people, especially women, we generally, not just people pleasers, but we generally want to make people feel comfortable, make them feel validated for what they're doing. So you say what you do, like, oh, that's amazing. That's great. That's not good data to go off of for a business. And this happens so often. I'll meet people in networking groups or this or that. And I'm like, yeah, great, amazing jobs. And they'll try to sell to me really quickly. I'm like, you don't even know if I have that problem.
You don't have a connection with me. You don't have a comfort zone with me. You have absolutely no compassion for what you're trying to solve with me. And we're not close. So those are my 4 C's, which my day job is jewelry. We have 4 C's for diamonds. So it was very easy for me to say, I need a roadmap because more female entrepreneurs fail than succeed. There's a tiny sliver, whereas in the male universe, they're not putting certain things into the mix, so there's not things they have to take out.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, this is a huge breakdown. Again, we're also battling this social media DIY. Anyone can do it, just start it and you can do it overnight. And it's really, really harming our industry because entrepreneurship is historically one of the most difficult things that you could do.
And to make everyone sound like you can go be a star or a Hollywood actor, just take this class and then go audition and you'll get a part too. It doesn't let somebody realistically assess if they're going to be good at it or not. And then conversely, I was a very good math student. My parents said, oh, be an accountant. Just because you're great at something doesn't mean you have any love for it. And I'll tell you, we all know at this point in the game, nobody loved being locked down for as long as we were. You know what you're not passionate about. Why would you make yourself go and do something that you're always going to resist?
Absolutely. And the DIY is, I think what it's opened up is, yes, if it's for you, great. But also entrepreneurship, it's a big thing. It's a real thing. And I'm seeing over and over again, so many people just struggling with someone on here has used the phrase, like, I entered entrepreneurship through the back door, didn't even really realize that I got here and here I am. And so not only is that happening to people all the time, and now they're ending up in a situation that is way harder, way heavier, way more difficult than they thought it would be. But then also this whole DIY, anyone can do it, just do this and just try this tactic, you can do it. It's like, wait a second, that's not true. It's very difficult and it takes some precision and it takes some real structure to navigate the startup phase. Mm-hmm. And you can do it, but going back to your cooking metaphor, you certainly will probably not get there if you don't know those 5 ingredients that you need to have for you to cook that recipe. And there's such a lack. And I truly believe that most people, at least that I'm connected with, are well-meaning. But this is one of those things that, I've said on this podcast before. And the first time I was like, I don't know if I should say this, but truly part of my mission is to continue to raise the bar for quality, because there needs to be a higher bar on all sides, even on the business coaching side, which now I'm in. The reality is the shadow side is it's kind of gotten a little cringy. It's kind of gotten a bad rap. There's been a lot of broken trust.
Yes.
I'm navigating the reality of that. When people, I meet them, by the time I have a conversation with them, it's like, I wouldn't invest in something else because I just invested in 5 courses and coaches over the past 3 years and none of it has worked. So now I think I need to figure it out on my own because they didn't teach me anything. And I'm like, great. Okay. So I'm dealing with that reality, but also we all need to raise the bar. If something's not working, let's be honest, let's be open about it, but also be willing to ask the hard questions. Hey, what exactly will this get me? What's the process? We need to just collectively raise the bar, because what we're all doing is very important work that needs to get out into the world, but we're floundering on the business side.
I hear you. And I think one of the problems of what we've all been sold, regardless of what generation you're in, is the idea that just because nobody's looking at their core competencies before they're doing something like this. And let's say you were doing something that started as transaction, and then you had an idea that got monetized, and then you got this little side hustle cooking. And then you want to scale it and make it a company. Not everything is supposed to grow into the 200-year-old oak tree. Not everything is supposed to scale to become this empire that you're going for. One of the most important things is someone who is a serial entrepreneur. I've owned a goldsmithing studio. I've owned a Pilates studio. I have had a children's book publishing company for not for profit, and here I am now doing the higher mind mastery work. The most important thing to look at what I'm doing this time around is I don't want to fix or solve part of my life. I don't want to be, oh, I have a crappy boss. I can go to open my own business, or, it's the recession and nobody's going to spend money on jewelry. I'll just go teach fitness and rehab. And instead of making everything a reaction or a pivot, you got to really sit and go, what is the origin story of what I want to do? Who's it for? Why in the world would I give up everything that I know to go do something I know nothing about? And then constantly have that humility sandwich with myself called, learned another lesson today. It's not for everybody. There are several little ego deaths along the way.
Last question before we wrap up today. If you could wave a magic wand and have one thing solved or fixed for you in your building process, what would that be?
I would love to be magnetic. I would wave a magic wand around that people would come and find me instead of me feeling the sense of I need to put it out there, that electric, as I'm working really hard on reversing the current because there was somebody who did guerrilla marketing and did door-to-door sales and all those things in the past that seemed at the time that it's so imperative that you make yourself known instead of getting to be known.
Kendra, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation. And for those of you who are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place, please reach out. I want to hear from you. And if you want to reach Kendra directly, the links to her website, Instagram are in the show notes. Thank you again, Kendra. And to everyone else, thank you for listening. And we'll see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.